Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. I appreciate you all joining me today. It seems like the holiday season is upon us. The holiday season is kicking off here really soon, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're just going to talk about how Neat can help you make smart financial moves throughout the holiday season. And with that, I think we can go ahead and we can get started. So, for those of you who are here who don't know who I am, my name is Nicole. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at the Neat Company. With me today, I have George, Tia, and Melissa, who are going to be active in chat, helping me to answer all of your Neat-related questions. So, as we go throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, just go ahead and pop them in the chat box, and we will get you an answer as soon as we can. So the holiday season can be one of the most expensive times of the year. Probably is the most expensive time of the year. With, everything from travel, gifts and year-end expenses kind of all piling up at one time. It's such a busy time of the year. Neat can help you stay organized and track your holiday spending and make more confident money decisions throughout the holiday season. In this webinar, we're going to talk about 5 best practices that we think will help you stay organized and on top of your holiday spending all season long, how Neat can help you accomplish those best practices. And we also have a downloadable holiday spending tracker that we're going to share with you all that you can download and keep track of your own holiday spending. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's jump into our first best practice. Really, in order to even start thinking about holiday spending, you need to start by setting a clear and keyword realistic holiday budget and then stick to it. Really, my best recommendation for creating a realistic holiday budget is to decide how much you can comfortably spend without relying on your credit cards or any, savings that you have spent up. Those things should be meant for essentials. Once you know how much you can comfortably spend without dipping into, your credit cards or your savings, you should then break that total into different expense categories such as gifts, travel, food, decorations, and entertainment. Really, we recommend that you make a detailed gift list. You should list out everyone that you plan to buy gifts for before you start shopping, before you even buy anything. And you should assign a spending limit to each person and track that. This is going to help you stay intentional with your shopping and avoid impulse buys, which is, usually where people break their budget during the holiday season is impulse shopping. The second part of your holiday budget should include non-gift expenses. So you don't want to forget to budget for things like travel, shipping costs, wrapping supplies, charitable donations, and other extra groceries that you might need for gatherings, because these are the expenses that tend to add up quickly and are commonly overlooked. When you're thinking holiday spending, most people think gifts. They're thinking gifts, maybe decorations. But these other expense categories like travel, wrapping supplies, etc., are just as important as your gifts, and they're really where you could potentially dig a hole for yourself. If you could be on top of your gifts budget and be under that budget. But if you're not planning for these other non-gift holiday expenses, you could still end up in a hole. To help with this, we have created a holiday shopping list and budget template that you can use. So I'm actually going to share that with you guys right now. And so this is going to pop up on your right. Or I'm sorry, on your left, bottom left corner. You can click the download the free template there to download this template. And I'm going to show you what this template, like what you can do with this template, how you can use it, and kind of just demonstrate that for you right now. So when you click that link in the bottom left-hand corner, you're brought to this page here. So what you're going to see is you're just going to see this blank template that we're providing you. On the first page, you actually have the holiday spending list and budget, and there's 2 tabs actually. If you click to the second tab, you can also see instructions for how to use this. So once we're done today, you can always reference these instructions later on if you need to. On the first page, you basically have just this blank spending list and budget. Now, you could print this out. You could, absolutely just print this out, and you could do it the old school way and, using a pen, basically write in who you're shopping for, what your spending limits are for everybody, what gifts you want to buy, et cetera, et cetera. You can do that all manually with pen and paper. However, if you click use template instead at the top right-hand corner, you can actually download this and use this in Google Sheets or in an Excel spreadsheet. And the total amounts here and things like that are set up in a way. They have formulas and some validation included in here so that all your totals calculate for you. That way you don't have to do any sort of manual calculation. They'll all calculate for you if you use this template in Excel or Google Sheets. And then on top of that, it has some validation to let you know whether or not you're above or below your budget for gift expenses and also non-gift expenses. So I want to show you now, here's the bare bones version of it, but I want to show you what this actually looks like if you actually were to. So going back to here, so this is what, you could do with your holiday budget or with this template here that we've provided you. So this is an example of my 2024 holiday spending list and budget from, 2024, obviously. So you have, all the persons here, so you can fill in a name for all of the different people you want to buy gifts for, or, if you have like a work Pollyanna or some sort of thing like that, you could, add those here. If there aren't enough column or rows here, like you need more rows because you have a bigger list of people to shop for, you can very easily right click and choose to insert a row above or below a particular row, and then you can continue to add to this. And any totals that you add, to these new columns will continue to calculate in the spending limit column. Likewise, if you have a shorter list of people you're buying for, you can also right click and just delete rows if you don't need all of the rows that are there. So you can go ahead and you can list out everybody you're shopping for, and you can also apply a spending limit to each one of those persons you're shopping for. And then this cell here will actually calculate the sum of all of those amounts, all of those different spending limits that you have for each person, giving you a grand total gift expenses spending limit. So you can see last year, mine was about $1,300 for gifts for people. At the bottom here, again, you should also include non-gift expenses in your holiday budget. That's really going to be the key in helping you stay, within budget and not dig a hole for yourself. We automatically have in our template these expense categories listed for you, charitable donations through to wrapping supplies. We included those in there because those are the most common holiday expense categories that we're familiar with. However, just like with the persons, you can also right click and add more rows to, add more expense categories to this if you need to. And vice versa, maybe you're not, you're not buying any decorations. You could delete a row if you didn't need that particular row. You can assign a spending limit to each one of these as well. And so we can see that my non-gift expenses spending limit last year was about $950. And then I can see a total holiday spending budget of about $22.75 for last year. Now, as you buy gifts or as you're planning gifts, you could write out gifts that you plan to buy or have bought for anybody in the gift column here or in the notes column here as well. As you can see, I'm a pretty detailed person. So not only did I list the item that I purchased, but I also listed the place that I purchased the item from as well. But you could also, if you want to separate those things out, you could also do things like add a column to the right. And maybe I can add my store information here. I can say like Best Buy here, Uncommon Goods here. And, I could add all of those details in a separate column if I want to keep those things separate. So this template is really customizable to you and how you really want to use it, what data you're interested in applying to it. I'm just going to keep it really simple though. As you go through and as you actually purchase things for people, you can go ahead and you can update the actual spend column here in column E. And all of these values will add up to what you've actually spent in total in, this cell right here. So we can see that last year I had a budget of about $1,300 for gifts, and I spent about $1,200 for gifts last year. And this little cell here actually shows you whether or not you are under or over budget. So I can see that I was under my gift expenses budget by about $135. But in my non-gift expenses section, we can see that I had a budget of $950 and I spent actually about $1,000. And I was actually over my budget by about $75. Altogether, we can see that my total holiday spend was $2,275. The actual spend was about $2,200. And in total, I was under my holiday spending budget by about $60. So I had a little teeny tiny bit of wiggle room there that I could have used. So this was like my 2024 holiday budget. One of the really cool things with this template is I could go ahead and I could just like duplicate this, and I could create a new tab for 2025. And then next year I could duplicate this and create a new tab for 2026. And then what you have here is you have this very manual process, but this holiday budget and list that you can use, and you can track your holiday spending from year to year and very clearly and easily see exactly how much you've spent year to year for each person or for each different expense category. So, I highly recommend downloading this if this is, something that you think will be helpful for you for your holiday spending. One of my last tips, or my last pro tip for how to set a clear and realistic holiday budget, is to make sure that when you are setting up your budget for the new year, that you consider or review your spending from the previous year to kind of spot where you might need to make adjustments. For example, last year I spent, about $2,200 on my holiday expenses. And maybe I know at the end of the year, I was feeling that budget where, I felt like I was cutting things too close, or maybe, it was like, scraping by a little bit, and that just felt like too much. Knowing how much I spent on the previous year will help me make better decisions this year for how much I want to spend. Like if I knew like I spent, $150 on decorations this year, and that was a lot, I could go in my 2025 budget and make some adjustments to how much I want to spend on decorations or a person that I'm buying gifts for. So Neat is actually the perfect tool that can help you kind of review your receipts and expense history from previous years so that you can see how much you typically spend on travel, gifts, and other events. And like I said, reviewing your spend from previous years is really just going to help you set that realistic budget before Black Friday hits and or you're doing any last minute shopping and those impulse buys start to creep in. So how do you go about using Neat to review your spending from the previous year? There's a couple ways that you can do it, and I'm going to show you that now, along with some tips, some best practices for how you should track your holiday spending in Neat as well. So one moment here while I just get my Neat account set up so I can show that to you. Cool. So you guys should be seeing my Neat account now. We're looking at all my files. So I'm going to go into since I have like a full list of expenses from 2024 for my holiday season, I'm going to go to my 2024 personal receipts folder, and I'm going to filter this folder by item type, and I'm going to choose receipt and save. So now we're only seeing receipts that are in my 2024 folder here. One of the things that you're going to notice immediately about some of my receipts here is that some of my receipts have this project assigned to them called Holiday Spending 2024. And that is, a big tip that I have for you when it comes to tracking your holiday spending in Neat. Here I have an Amazon.com receipt that I emailed into Neat. I just forwarded to Neat using my Neat Cloud email address. And what I've done is, for every single expense that I have in Neat that was associated with my holiday spending last year, all of my gift buying, all of my non-gift expenses, I assigned this project Holiday Spending 2024 to it. What this allows me to do is it allows me to very quickly and easily filter my grids and my reports by that specific project and find every receipt in my database associated with my 2024 holiday spending in seconds. The other thing that I did is that I used the customer field to indicate who I purchased the gift for. Now I could put this customer, I could put the who I purchased this gift for in the notes field instead if I want to. However, these fields down here, these receipt classification fields, really can be used to track like anything you want and need. You don't have to just track customers or products or locations. You could really use them to track anything. By assigning a project and a customer or a person that you purchased a holiday gift for to each one of your holiday expenses, it's going to make reporting on, filtering for, and finding these receipts and need incredibly easy. It's going to make it very easy for you to be able to review your spending from previous years and also see how much you've spent to date on your holiday budget for like 2025. So if you upload your receipts to Neat, your holiday receipts to Neat, and you assign a project, I recommend just calling your project holiday spending 2024 or 2025 or next year 2026, and then say who you purchased this gift for in the customer column. You can very quickly and easily find these receipts by using one of these two methods. We'll discard these changes. So the first method for finding one of these receipts is to just use your grid filter. The grid filter, I think, is an underrated part of the application. It's really quick and easy to use, and you can find totals for specific category expenses, specific vendors, specific projects, all directly from the grid. So for example, we've already filtered to receipts here. I could add another filter for project, and I will filter to my holiday spending 2024 and click save. And here we can see now the only receipts I'm seeing in this grid are 22 receipts that total $2,100 $2,100, about that. Very quickly and easy, I can see that's how much I spent on my holiday spending in 2024. And now I know I can make some adjustments based on that total. Let's say, for example, I wanted to know exactly how much I spent on a specific person for gifts from 2024. Like, for example, I have Kelsey, who is a friend of mine who I purchased some gifts for last year. I can go ahead and I can add a filter for customer, and I can apply Kelsey to my customer filter. And now I'm seeing that I purchased her 2 gifts, and they're showing a total of $49.99. That's how much I spent on her last year for Christmas. And then what you could do is you could simply copy this total. You could pop over into your holiday budget list and budget here. And then I can say, okay, I spent $49, about $50 for Kelsey last year. I'm going to spend $50 on her again this year, or maybe I'll up it and I will spend $75 on her this year. And vice versa, if I'm checking how much I've spent to date on Kelsey, let's say, it's 2025 and I've already purchased her a few things, I could just apply that total here to the actual spend. I'll just paste my values only. And now we're seeing that, I'm starting to add the actual spend to my budget and starting to see how much of this budget I'm digging into. Going back to Neat, let's say, for example, I wanted to find out specifically how much I spent on a specific holiday expense category. I could add a filter for expense category, and then I can choose the holiday expense category I want to filter for. In this case, we'll choose decorations and click save. We can see that last year I purchased I made 2 purchases in relation to decorations, totaling $148.26. And then again, I can just quickly copy that. I can pop back over into my holiday budget here. I can say, I spent $150 on decorations last year. I only want to spend $75 this year. Or $75 is my budget, but actually I ended up spending, $149. So I'm quite over budget there. So, just using these quick filters and, making sure to track your holiday spending a specific way in Neat will help you very easily calculate exactly how much you spent for specific people and specific expense categories throughout the holiday season. There's another way that you can see how much you spent last year on your holiday spending, and that is through reporting. So instead of using the filters, you could quickly just create an expense report. So I recommend that you create an expense report because the expense report provides you a summary of all of the different expense categories on the first page, which is really useful. I can go in here and I will choose a specific date range. We'll choose the previous year. So January 1st to December 31st, 2024. And then the only other filter I need to apply to this is to add a filter for any receipt in my database from last year that has the Holiday Spending 2024 project associated to it or assigned to it. I can go ahead and I can click Next Step. You can go ahead and name your expense report. I always recommend that you are very, kind of almost boring, like very detailed in your title. So I'm just going to name this 2024 Holiday Spending Report. I always recommend that you store any expense reports or any other Neat generator reports that you're creating in the folder that contains the items that are in the report. So in this case, I'm going to save this in my 2024 personal receipts folder. You can go and add notes if you'd like to. You can also download a copy of this report as a CSV file to get every single detail that you possibly can from these files out of Neat. And then you would go ahead and click Create. Now, I've already personally made an expense report for my 2024 holiday spending, because I wanted to start planning my 2025 budget. So here is my 2024 holiday spending report. What we can see is on the very first page, I have all of those expense categories broken up. I can see exactly how much money I spent on each of them and exactly how many receipts go into each one of those total amounts. Using the text selection tool here, this little arrow, I can go ahead and literally just copy text directly from here. Like I can take this 148.26 from my decorations and pop this into my holiday list and budget. And, I can do that for all of these different expense categories here. Again, I'm able to quickly see how much I spent for holiday spending in 2024 and how much I spent for each individual expense category. If I scroll down further, the expense report also gives you a line by line breakdown of every single item that's in that report if you wanted to dig in further. This will also include any file notes that you have as well. And then lastly, it'll also include all of the source receipts, all of the actual images for all of the different expenses in the report as well, in case you need that for, maybe reimbursement or for tax deductions or tax prep or something like that. So those are two ways that you can utilize Neat to review your holiday spending from the previous year and also see how much you've spent year to date. So so that was our first best practice. Let's talk about our next best practice. To do that, I'm just going to hop back into the slides. So our next best practice is to track every purchase. Really, this is a best practice that you should be following all year round, not just during the holiday season. It's going to make your holiday season that much easier. But Neat gives you many ways to do this. My personal favorite way to get items into Neat is to use the Neat mobile application, especially for my holiday spending. With Neat's mobile application, you can capture pictures of your receipts as you receive them and instantly categorize purchases as you're shopping. So you get a receipt, you can capture it with your Neat mobile application, and then you can toss the receipt. You don't have to take it home with you and clutter up your car or your purse or your bag or your desk or anything like that. You can just get rid of it. You don't have to bring it home with you. Capturing the receipts as you require them ensures that you never lose a receipt and that you keep the clutter at bay. It doesn't come back with you into your home. My pro tip here for capturing or tracking your purchases is to also snap pictures of any gift receipts that you acquire as well. So that way, if someone needs to exchange one of the gifts that you purchased them, you can easily just share the gift receipt with them from Neat. You can email it to them or share it with them. That way you don't need to give this person the gift of clutter when you give them their gift along with this gift receipt. Instead, you can just give them the gift, and if they happen to need to exchange it for whatever reason, you can then send them that receipt only when they actually need it. And you can include the gift receipt in there with the regular receipt as well, so it's all in one file. So that's a nice a nice way to not pass on clutter throughout the holiday season. Our next best practice is to try to spot overspending before it happens, which can be a little bit difficult, but by organizing all your expenses in one place, Neat makes it easy to see which one of your categories are growing, like dining, gifts, or travel. Which one of those are maybe growing faster than the others, or which ones are over budget than the others. That insight is going to help you make quick adjustments to avoid year-end financial stress if you're going over budget. The same way that you use Neat to review your spending from last year, as I just demonstrated, you can apply those same rules, those same filters and reports to your spending for this year. You just need to adjust your filters. You just need to, filter for a holiday spending 2025 or whatever year it actually is. And then, you could also use the downloadable holiday shopping list and budget to spot overspending as well. If you download that list and budget and you're tracking each year in different tabs, you can very quickly go to each tab and see exactly how much you spent the previous year or how much you're spending to date. One of our pro tips here is that we recommend that you avoid one for me, one for you shopping. Impulse purchases for yourself during gift shopping are, like I said, one of the biggest holiday budget breakers. For example, maybe you purchase a sweater for someone as a gift and you really like that sweater, so you also buy one for yourself. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I like sweaters. But that's why the first best practice that we said, or that we listed, setting a clear and realistic budget is so important. By making a list, checking it twice maybe, and sticking to it, you can avoid impulse purchases and stay within your budget and avoid this one for me, one for you shopping. Let's hop into our next best practice. Our next best practice is to try to prepare for tax season early. You can use this time to prepare for tax season early. For example, many people forget that charitable donations and certain business-related expenses made during the holidays can actually be considered tax deductible. You want to make sure that when you upload things like, charitable donations and things like that, that you assign a tax category to them and that you also itemize your donations as well. The IRS says that you can only deduct charitable contributions if you itemize your deductions on your tax return. And now you can finally itemize or split receipts from the file cabinet in Neat. So Neat can actually help you now with this itemization process of your charitable contributions. To demonstrate this for you guys today, I'm going to show you how I itemized or split one of my own recent charitable donations. All right, so here it is. So here is my Mana receipt. So we have my image over here. We have all the details over here. So we can see that I donated 5 pies to a nonprofit partner. Each pie cost me $35. And we can also see I made an additional contribution or additional donation of just straight $25 in cash, essentially. The subtotal was $200. There was a credit card fee of $6.80. And my order total was $206.80. So the reason that I bring this up is that $206.80, that whole amount is not, all of that is not entirely tax deductible. This is why the IRS wants you to itemize your deductions, because the full amount of your charitable donations isn't always considered entirely tax deductible. In this case, it's because part of what I paid for those pies covers the actual value of the pies, meaning I provided or donated something of tangible value in return for my donation. So those 5 pies at $35 Mana does a really great job of letting you know what is tax deductible. They have this little tax deductible sentence here. They let you know a certain particular type of pie is tax deductible for $30, while all other pies are tax deductible in the amount of $25. So for those 5 pies that I purchased at $35, only $25 of the $35 for each of those pies is considered tax deductible. So that's like $125 for all of the 5 pies. Now, for the additional donation of $25 that I made in just straight cash, that is entirely tax deductible. And that's because nobody's getting anything as a result of that cash donation. The entire amount is, considered tax deductible because there isn't a tangible item that is being donated or sold for that. So that brings me basically to $150 of a tax deductible amount for this particular receipt. So this is why the IRS wants you to itemize this type of receipt. You can't claim the full $206. I can only claim 150 of the dollars. Only $150 are considered tax deductible. So whenever you're in Neat now, if you need to split a receipt between different expense categories, different projects, different customers, between business and personal, all you need to do is use our split tool. In order to split a receipt into multiple different expense categories, you will find the receipt that you want to split, right-click on it, and choose Split from the drop-down here. So I'm going to click Split. So as I just mentioned, only $150 of this $206 is actually tax deductible. So I'm going to type in $150 here, and we're going to do $0 for tax. I didn't pay any tax. I'm going to make sure that it's saved in my 2025 folder, and I can also add more details here. Like I said, you want to add a project to all of your holiday spending. So I'm going to add a project for holiday spending 2025. In my customer section, I could, put in Mana if I wanted to. So I know that this was the person who received this was Mana, or I could even add it in the notes here as well. Or I can do, like Pie in the Sky is the program. So I can add all of those things to this particular item. Now, this is considered a Schedule A non-cash charity contribution. So I'm going to choose that as my tax category. And then I'm going to click Save and Add New. Now I can add a new line itemization for the remaining balance of this. Now I could split this multiple different ways. I can maybe add another split for the credit card processing fee. But in this particular instance, I am just going to type in general retail for the remaining $56.80, $0 in tax. I can add additional fields. I'm still going to apply the project holiday spending 2025 because while this $56.80 isn't tax deductible, it's still a part of the total amount that I paid for in my holiday budget. So I want to make sure I include that. And I won't add a customer this time because it's not going to anybody in particular. It's just a purchase that I made. So I can go ahead and I can click Save. Whenever you're splitting an item, Neat does apply some validation to it as well. So the total amount, the amounts here have to equal the total amount up here, including the sales tax. Neat will let you know once all of your line items are balanced. Once they're all balanced, you can go ahead and you can click Split here. And Neat will split this receipt into 2 separate receipts that will have both the same images, but different amounts and categories and other selections. So we can see I did this yesterday as well, just to make sure everything worked fine. But we can see these are my 2 new splits now. So now when I look at one item, I can see the $56.80 with the same image. And if I go to the next one, we can see the tax, the tax deductible amount of $150 here and the same exact receipt as well. So, and then all of these, because they're 2 different items, all of these things are going to flow through to my reports. I can use them in my filters. I can use them in a CSV export. So all of this data is exportable just like any other item in Neat. We're going to talk about our last best practice for holiday spending, and that is to keep your business and personal expenses separate. If you're a freelancer or if you're a gig worker or a small business owner, holiday spending or holiday shopping often can get mixed with business expenses. Neat helps you separate them easily so that your books stay clean and compliant. It's important for, your expense reporting that you keep your business and personal expenses not mixed. You can use the splitting receipts feature that I just demonstrated for you to split a specific receipt between personal and business expenses, making it very easy. And then you can save those split receipts in separate folders. We recommend that you save all of your business receipts in a specific receipt or specific folder for businesses, and all of your personal receipts in a specific folder for personal. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in my Neat account just real quick. In like my folder structure, I have a section for personal and I have a section for business. And I make sure that I keep all of my personal expenses completely separate from my business expenses. That way, none of my business expenses end up in any of my reports or anything like that I might like send over to like an accountant or a CPA for tax filing. So that is pretty much it, guys. By using Neat to stay on top of your spending throughout the year, throughout November and December, you'll roll into the new year with clear records, with less stress because it'll all be managed already, and hopefully some smarter financial habits as well with how you track holiday expenses and how you are, uploading and maybe capturing things as you acquire them. If you're doing this, then you can start the new year financially organized and then also stay organized. Set that precedent for the rest of the new year to come. So that is it. That brings us to the end of our best practices for holiday spending. I'm going to open it up to a Q&A session right now. If there are any questions, let me just take a quick look here at the chat. Were there any questions that weren't answered or any questions that are coming in that I could potentially answer for anybody? Let's see. So Karen asks a great question. Does Neat offer a business-specific program? Yeah, so Karen, I would recommend maybe using our Neat Plus Automated Insights plan. That tends to be the plan type that more business-specific users are using Neat for. The Neat Plus Automated Insights plan provides you with access to Neat's transaction features. So not only do you get all the features that I showed you today, but you also get all of these transaction related features, which I'm going to just share my screen to show you right now. The benefit to the transaction features is that you can connect all of your different business accounts, all of your different financial accounts here to Neat. Let me actually load some. We'll do previous. Let's do last, 3 years. I can't remember how many years I go back in here. But you can load all of your different financial institutes into Neat, connect them all to Neat, and then see all of your transactions, all of your financial purchases coming into Neat into one grid. So that way you can get a clear picture of how you are doing, how your business is doing, how your finances are doing across all of your accounts. And then we also offer this business health insights dashboard that'll help you track your net cash flow, your top expense categories, your cash balance, your profit and loss, and also your total sales as well. So all of that is here. And then not only that, you can marry your transactional data with your actual source documents in your file cabinet through our monthly review or our reconciliation process. Basically, it allows you to take raw transactions, for example, like this one, and actually match them to the source documents that you have in your file cabinet, effectively allowing you to reconcile those transactions in those accounts so that from a books perspective, you can close out each month or each quarter or each year and feel confident that you've reviewed all of your transactions, you have source documents for all of them, and that you're ready to go if you're ever audited by the IRS or if you need to submit an expense report to your CPA or accountant, or even just upload your data to another tax software. So I would recommend, Karen, maybe doing a Neat Plus Automated Insights trial. Those are available. You can give it a shot, see how you like it, and then you can connect all your accounts and see how that would benefit you. Carla asks, is there a cost for the mobile app on the phone? Absolutely not, Carla. Carla, all Neat subscriptions, our Neat Base plan and our Neat Plus Automated Insights plan include the Neat mobile application. So once you have an active Neat Cloud subscription, you can install the Neat mobile application on your phone, sign into your account, and then you can access that whenever you need to upload and manage all of your data. You do need a Neat subscription. So if that's what you're asking, then yes, you do need an active Neat Cloud subscription, but each subscription includes that mobile application. All of our subscriptions include not only the Neat mobile application, but also our Neat desktop application as well, which is the tool that you can use if you have a physical scanner and you want to scan items to Neat. All the plans also include the ability to import. They include unique Neat Cloud email addresses so that you can forward receipts directly to Neat. So there's a couple different ways that you can get items into Neat, but there's no additional cost on top of the subscription fee for the mobile app. So I hope that helps. George makes a great point as well. All plans also include unlimited storage and unlimited uploads. So you can upload as many files as you want to Neat. We have users with hundreds of thousands of files on their Neat account that they're able to just quickly access whenever they need to. Lots of older archived data from previous years. Those people are very, very organized. And you can upload as many items as you want every day, every month, every week, every quarter. There are some, cloud-based solutions that limit the total number of items that you can upload and also the total number of uploads that you can make during a period of time. So there are no limits here at Neat. You can upload as much as you want, however often as you want. So I think that is where we'll wrap for the day. I appreciate everybody joining me today for actually one of our, I guess, slightly shorter webinars. I hope everybody here has a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope you all have a wonderful and neat holiday season. We'll be seeing you soon over the next few weeks with other webinars, but thank you all for joining and have a great rest of the day. Thank you all. Bye.